What are some of the most absurd lies your parents told you? When I was like 5, my mom said she can give birth to puppies. Don't worry about paying for college, we'll take care of the monthly payments, we'll figure it out. Narrator, they didn't. The sky's blue because it's the reflection of the ocean. I got laughed at in HS science class because of it. I used to wear a bear costume like every day when I was 5. One day, my mom, already freaking tired of that costume, told me it was bear hunting season already and that it was no longer safe to go out dressed like that. The memory of she telling me that is forever locked in my memory now. I still to this day remember how reckless I felt for not having considered that. We still laugh about that lie. If we couldn't decide on a restaurant, my dad would tell us we'd better make up our minds quick or he'd take us to Vegetable World. I was like 11 before I realized it wasn't a real restaurant. By golly, it worked until then though. A friend told me their parents would take them to the Toy Museum aka Fau Schwartz, and nothing is for sale there, they just display the toys. My dad tried to tell me that cars were run by hamsters on wheels under the gear shift, and they knew to run because the stick ended in a block of ice that would go on their backs. I was 8 and asked him WTF he was talking about. He had been told this by his uncle and believed it, and was disappointed it didn't work on me. I was told that Star Wars was real. Didn't take too long to figure that one out. My dad told me that every pickle you eat adds 5 minutes on your life. I was like 5 and damn did I ever take that to heart. There's a 5-cent charge every time we touch the light switch, so my brother and I were costing them a fortune every time we played with flickering the lights. Getting a job is easy. Just walk in, ask for the manager, give a firm handshake and boom. That it was illegal to turn the lights on in the car while driving at night. If I don't go to work, I will be fired. Do you know what that means? It means they fire a gun at me and I die. That's why I have to go to work. That ended up traumatizing me far more than my parents probably intended. One of the funniest ones was my dad used to tell me that if I swallowed bubble gum and farted then I would blow a bubble out of my butt and it could pop and make my butt sticky. Lamau. Classic dad joke, except I distinctly remember that he said this right after I had swallowed some gum and I repeatedly farted, hoping for a bubble to blow, but alas, it never happened. And now bubble butt has a whole different meaning. I asked my dad where babies came from. He told me that he found me and my sisters in my mom's cabbages. All he had to do was flip over the leaves and he saw our faces and pulled us out. My sisters and I spent hours looking for new babies. I told my mom that I didn't want to follow her religion anymore and she tried to tell me that atheists get thrown in the ground without a funeral and with no respect. I was 16. I don't know why she thought her lies would still work on me. My mom told me that she could always tell when I was lying because my ears would turn red. Years later, I realized my ears didn't turn red, but walking up to her with my ears covered with my hands likely gave me away. I use it on my daughters now and it still works. My dad told me not to put silverware in the fridge because it would poison the food. My brother believed it until he was 25. My dad has ridiculous cold tolerance. He's the kind of guy that will be out in shorts and a t-shirt when it's 36 degrees Fahrenheit outside. When I was 6, I asked him how he was able to stand it, and he told me he just absorbed heat all summer long and stored it for the winter. He worked outdoors all summer, so it made perfect sense to 6-year-old me. I will become a mass murdered if I played GTA, possessed by demons if I watched Pokemon or Harry Potter, and would be mind-controlled by non-Christian music. Growing up, I asked, what makes a wildcat wild? Parents answered, wildcats have no butthole, that's what makes them wild. When the ice cream truck was playing music it meant they were out of ice cream, so there was no reason to go outside. If I work hard I can do anything. If you always wait to be offered something you'll be deemed as polite. This went to the extreme. They would withhold food if I asked for something to be passed to me at the dinner table. It is one of my biggest anxiety triggers. If someone is nice to me I must be manipulating them. That didn't have any lasting effects on my relationships with people or myself at all. /s. My parents were still clinging onto the magic of Santa Claus at this point. They fell asleep early on Christmas Eve. My brother and I woke up early. We walk into the living room to see no presents. My mom said something to the effect of, "Oh no, Santa must have accidentally skipped us. Maybe if you go to your room for a little bit, he will swing by and drop them off." It's hilarious because my parents are geniuses. Next level smart types of people. I still crack up at the fact that this was what they could come up with in a pinch. Lol. We love you unconditionally. Apparently this only applied as long as I didn't suffer from PTSD, depression and other mental health conditions. Now I'm not allowed to visit them in Germany anymore because the neighbors may talk if I have a breakdown. No worries though. I cut them out of my life since they told me that. My mom told me if I kept dressing in boys' clothes then boys would never be interested in me. Grew up to be a tomboyish lesbian who wished this was the case. My dad told us we had a word quota and if we reached it before the month was up our voice would quit working and if we ever got into trouble we wouldn't be able to call out for help, so it was very important to keep your words under a quota. So he would reference this, "I think you guys are getting close to your quota," and we would all fearfully shut up. Now I realize he lived in a house full of 4 girls and had had enough. Smiley face. On why they got divorced, from Dad: "Your mother apparently didn't like me anymore so she kicked me out." I'm still not sure what I did wrong. Reality. From Mom: "I'd convinced myself him hurting me was okay, but when he broke your sister's arm because she yelled at him for hurting me, I just said not my girls. No one hurts my girls," and told him he had to leave. He told his coworkers he was sleeping in the office because I cheated. One time I was just chilling in my room and my dad walked in, looked at me and said, "Son, you know if you masturbate too much you will die." And I was like, "I'm okay Dad, cool." Then he walked out. Super weird lol. That my uncle got cancer from having Lunchables for lunch at school. Like damn, just tell me we can't afford it. Buying a new car costs less than buying a 10-year-old car because you don't need to give it as much maintenance. There's a $40,000 difference, Dad. It takes 2 to start a fight. Like sure, but I can guarantee that unless it's a legitimate arena or something only one person actually wants to fight. The other is using self-defense. My mom tried to tell me that if you kiss a boy then you get pregnant. I was so scared to kiss a boy for years. I was literally telling everyone that if you kiss then you get a baby. So sorry to all the people I lied to lol. I remember my dad teaching me how to cook and I asked him, "Wow, where'd you learn how to do that?" And he would tell me, "Well, I learned it while I was in the army." The army teaches you lots of things like that. Anytime I ask him where he learned something, he'd tell me he learned it in the army. Fast forward to me at 13 and I asked him to do a Veterans Day speech at school and both of my parents started dying laughing and he confessed he'd never been in the army. It was just the only way to get me to shut up. Smiley face. I was devastated and would regularly ask him if what he was speaking the truth or the veteran truth. Mom: "I won't tell your dad." Dad 3 seconds later: "Hey son, your mom told me so and so." My parents told me that Santa wasn't real, but who'd eat all those cookies in one night? You learn to whistle by eating all of your sandwich crusts. If you can keep from licking the hole after losing a tooth, the replacement will grow in solid gold. Sometimes when I was a kid, they would lock their room and start making noise, then I would ask from behind the door what they were doing, then they would tell me that they were giving each other massages. P.S. I translated this with Google because I am not an English speaker. So if it is not well related you already know why it is. D. Well, my mom told me that the memories of the abuse I've encountered from her growing up was all in my head and that I was basically making things up, saying she was a loving mom and would never put her hands on me. My mom is batshit crazy and I know what she has done and I know it isn't a lie. Like seriously lol, this woman has FKN issues. Not to me but to my older siblings. My dad had gotten a large piece of pork and changed the label from pork to elephant penis, convincing my older siblings they were eating elephant penis for dinner that night. My mom would always sip my drink and eat some of my food and said it was to see if it was poisoned but really just wanted some lol. Recovering Pentecostal preacher/missionary's kid here. That's probably enough said. My parents told me that if I ever upended the dishwasher while it was on, then the whole house would flood. That babies came when a man and a woman love each other so much. I once cried and told my teachers I was scared I'd have a baby with my dad because I love him so much. He'll turn into an Oompa Loompa if I eat too much Halloween candy. My dad would say I can't say scissors, I can only say skissers, pronouncing with a hard K sound, and he'd say, "Dad, you just said it." This was just a fun dad joke, but it seemed like a blatant lie when I was like 5. Wife's answer: my parents told me if I sucked my thumb too much I'd turn into a chipmunk. Pedos, murders, thieves, and terrorists aren't real and they only show up in movies and shows. I found out that they're real at 11 when I encountered a pedo. Changed my life. That I was not adopted, they Caucasian nim black. It was funny now looking back at it. Not to go out at night because giant polka-dotted child-eating bird came out at night. Work hard, and you'll go far. Yeah, I worked hard, took promotional tests, got promoted and hated my job. I went far, my blood pressure nearly killed me. When our family cockatiel bird call spot died I was told that we couldn't look after it anymore due to my parents being at work all the time. It wasn't fair on him, so we were going to donate him to our local farm who were looking for a male cockatiel to go on with their female one. 15 years later I found out that we didn't donate him, He had actually died, but my parents didn't want to tell 6-year-old me that, so made up the donation story. I was mortified. Joseph Smith found a book made out of gold in a mountain. He then translated that book using a hat and a stone. He then had the book that was info about the one and only true church. This is just the beginning. What followed was years of lies and brainwashing. That if I swallow gum it will stick to my heart, blow into a bubble, burst, and I will die of a heart attack. I'm pretty sure me realizing my breakfast doesn't smack my heart on the way down was the beginning of my passion for philosophy and questioning authority.